Welcome to Professor Mark Frank class. Today we are going to discuss the environmental issue, specifically the deforestation history of China. For a long time, the forests were thought to be the Earth's lungs. It helped reduce the erosion of topsoil caused by wind and water. The forests ensure the consistency and quality of water supplies. They have an impact on microclimates as well. They usually lower the temperature in temperate zones through evapotranspiration and giving shade cover. Forests are home to a variety of birds, animals, and plants. However, in the recent year, China is blamed for being the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases and mercury pollution and the leading consumer of illegal wildlife and timber products. And the PRC's state-owned companies are exporting the Chinese Communist Party's disregard for the environment through the often corrupt infrastructure projects of the regime's One Belt, One Road initiative.
Hi, my name is Lam and I am a Fulbright student. Today I am going to ask my friends if they know anything about deforestation in China. So let's go.
No.
What? No.
Yeah, I think the situation is devastating.
Actually, I don't really know about that.
No, I've never heard it before. China is well known for its air pollution and other environmental issues containing the Mekong River, from what I know, but not deforestation.
We, as young Vietnamese people, little know about what's happening with deforestation in China. Why is that? I think one of the most reasonable explanations is we little read the news on the issues. So today I will gonna go with you the history of deforestation from pre-modern China to modern time.
A common misconception is that environmental damages are caused by only modern industrialization. China's industrialization process produced high energy consumption from extensive industrialization and environmental degradation such as worsening water quality and air pollution as well as land contamination and social inequality. Not just the modern time. In fact, the unsustainable development in China had a very long history.
Okay, so many environmental historians research on unsustainable development in pre-modern time in China, but I highly recommend this book on my hand, The Riches of the Elephants, written by Mark Alvin. And in this book, Alvin argued that the pre-modern time was also responsible for unsustainable development in China.
People cut down trees for three reasons in pre-modern China: to build living space and cultivate fields, to use wood for daily use such as cooking and heating, and manufacturing, and to develop mass construction, houses, boats, ships, and bridges, pine pilings. Between 1786 and 1856, deforestation caused soil erosion and serious damage to the living environment. Upstream deforestation has a harmful influence on the lowlands as well. At the end of the day, environmental consequences manifested in forms of floods, lack of timber for fuels, housing, shipbuilding, as well as destruction of natural habitat for wild animals, which is an important buffer to bad harvests.
So here is the interesting question. How did people in the past think of deforestation as an issue? And was there any effort to try to protect the land or manage the forest more efficiently? In the book, Miller argued that forest management mostly relied on private ownership, with state inspection and taxation at a distance, and this local governance could tell us how people in the past thought of sustainability. I think now we can come up with a conclusion that deforestation has been a very long time issue happening in China. Turning to the 20th century, how does the PRC manage the deforestation issue? Let's look at it now.
A series of strong sandstorms hit Beijing in early 2021, blanketing the city in thick brown dust. Due to high winds coming in from the Gobi Desert, as well as deforestation and soil degradation throughout northern China, Beijing experienced regular sandstorms in March and April for the first time. It's a problem that the government can't afford to overlook. The government created the 3 North Forest Belt program, often known as the Great Green Wall, to protect Beijing from the sand. It's designed to be the first line of defense in the event of a sandstorm. It was dubbed the world's largest deforestation project by some. By 2050, there are plans to plant almost 86 million acres of shelter belt woods. In 1978, the Chinese government drew up a 4,500-kilometer-long plan for all the trees. It would stop the desert from spreading, as well as protect against sandstorms and balance the country's carbon emissions. According to the World Bank, China had 23.3% forest cover in 2020, up from a record low of 14.7% in 1949. However, China is cultivating large monoculture plantations that harbor little biodiversity. Many reforestation projects break free and utilize fast-growing trees like aspen, white birch and poplar as rapidly as possible. However, due to a lack of variety, these ecosystems often prove to be fragile and unsustainable. In 2000, 1 billion poplar trees were lost to a single disease, setting the project back 20 years. In 2008, 10% of the artificial forest was destroyed by the fact that is not even the worst issue, as planting species like these can actually have the exact opposite effect and intended when not taking local conditions into account. As many of these areas were never forested in the first place. Much of the land that's being planted is of poor quality for the tree species that have been used for this project and need a lot of groundwater to fuel that growth. Given that these are already found conditions, this often results in any sort of vegetation nearby, such as native grasses and shrubs with rain. The trees planted are not native to the region and don't tolerate local conditions. Native vegetation tends to function in equilibrium with the resources available to it, including water. And in early years, the newly planted tree species appeared not to suffer because they were effective at pushing their roots ever deeper in search of stored soil moisture. Beijing Forestry University scientist Shishang Cao and 5 co-authors say that on-the-ground surveys have shown that, over time, as many as 85% of the plantings fail. It's worth noting that when we talk about the encroaching desert, we might imagine a barren wasteland devoid of life, but nothing could be further from the truth. The Gobi Desert is home to a diverse range of flora and fauna, including many endangered species like camels. The goal isn't to defeat the desert. Preserving natural deserts is just as vital as any other purpose, and, oddly, the Gobi Desert is a much healthier ecosystem than the artificial trees built to halt its expansion. There's no denying that something does need to be done to protect China's grasslands and less industrials. And this project was successful in reducing the frequency of dust and sandstorms by 1/5 between 2009 and 2014. The Chinese government also claims to have been successful with not only halting the desert, but that they're actually reclaiming 2,400 square kilometers a year. There is no denying that the Great Reward has plenty of flaws, but much of the issue simply boils down to attempting to quickly manage this problem at a large scale, or whether recently it's been reported that local and national governments in China have changed their approach between 2014 and 2017. China implemented a statewide prohibition on the destruction of natural forests, and their forestry law was changed in 2020 to include more stringent protections. Governments have also been reported to be planting native trees, shrubs, and herbs that use less water instead of fast-growing monocultures. Growing these native plants precisely provides locals with economic benefits while avoiding the drawbacks of planting non-sustainable non-native species. If these claims are true, it speaks well for the great pre-war and China's fight against desertification in the future. While lowering our carbon footprint is unquestionably a good idea, in the long run, ignoring concerns like biodiversity in the pursuit of lower emissions would only exacerbate the situation. As a result, it's critical to assess any reforestation programs to which the government may be contributing.
So that's it for the history of deforestation from pre-modern time to modern period in China. And I have a question for you. As a young Vietnamese people, how do you know about the history of your own country in terms of environmental issue, specifically the deforestation issue? And thank you.